Alright, you're gonna need a partner, and we're gonna do standard
We'll be
big
partners,
on
Aaron.
rules
Okay.
here. Just rock, paper, scissors, no Spock or bombs or other things. You do 1, 2, 3, or rock, 1, 2, scissors, shoot, yes. So, you're going to do it one time with your partner, or well, you don't have to, we'll do best of 3, I guess.
Wait, is this
No math.
So, best of 3,
Basics.
but here's the twist though. After you lose, because one of you in each group is going to lose here, then you're going to go play someone else, but the winner is going to go play another winner.
Would be in the loser's bracket.
No, there's not a loser's bracket. Your job, so let's say Charlie loses, his job is to root him on and encourage him in the next round, loudly.
I like that.
And then,
You're not going to have any problem.
and then we'll have the next one, and then we'll finally have 2 people, and you'll be rooting for him, and we'll see who the champion is.
So
We're doing, you know, we are doing a rock, paper, scissors tournament for some positive behavior prevention strategies at lunchtime. We're having a big tournament,
Very
so
intense.
this is good practice.
Yeah.
Okay?
I did this in
So,
the
the
special ed
key to
class.
this, though, is the cheering. Okay? So,
Oh, you're not going to
you,
have problems with
loud,
Yeah,
that's good.
You don't have
Alright, go ahead and start. Best of 3.
All right.
So again, it's.
Alright, ready?
Rock, paper,
1, 2, 3.
Scissors,
Okay, did I do it right? Yeah, okay. So we go okay.
Oh, wait, 3 straight scissors.
Shoot.
Who's
You
winning?
get it right, yeah, so you cover me on that.
Oh!
Give her the scissors. Give it to her. Come on, scissors. Rock. What? Scissors.
Scissors, shoot.
Rock.
Scissors.
Ah,
1, 2,
you win.
3.
Okay.
Yes.
Sarah, right? Sandy, sorry.
We all relax.
All right.
Oh, you guys go.
Rock, paper,
Winner?
scissors, shoot.
She's the winner, yeah.
Take
Come on,
it.
Sarah. Come on, Sandy. Come on, let's go. Come on, Sandy.
Ruthless.
Okay.
Give her the cheese.
Yeah.
Go, go, fingers. Scissors game. Ties like kissing your sister.
All right. Woo.
And you had a second winner.
I did.
Winner.
That was winner.
Oh, do it, root.
Are you ready to know how to play Sandy?
All
All
right.
right. Come on, Sandy.
Woo!
Woo.
Paper can't cover scissors. Take that weak sauce home.
Okay, right. Come on, Sandy.
Lauren.
Come on, Sandy, you can do it.
Come on.
Teach about sex, Sandy. You can do this.
Come on, Sandy.
Something different.
They're the exact same.
Distract her with your sex words for class.
Come on, Sandy, go.
Oh, is that it?
It's okay, you're still winning her heart.
So is it tied right now?
Oh, tie. Oh, all right.
Come on, Sandy. Sandy.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have to do it again.
Right.
Paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh.
Winner.
No one's supporting you.
Nobody loves me.
Someone
There you
should
go,
be
Lauren.
cheering you on. Who was your cheer?
Who lost you before Sandy? Bonnie, you were not loud enough.
I was. She
Oh,
was. She was the only one.
She was the only one.
I'm
wait, my
worse.
stuff's still
So, once again, a couple questions for you.
Too loud.
What kind of skills did you practice here that would be successful in group work?
I learned a good strategy for rock, paper, scissors.
Okay? So there's some strategies?
Only use scissors. That's what I use every time.
I knew it and I still lost.
Threw all scissors at you.
And you won.
Ridiculous.
All scissors at
Interesting. So my prejudice is for rock. I
Yeah, I
tend to
always
go
do
rock.
rock because it's the easiest.
I don't know, I always tend to go
Oh, yeah,
rock.
there's no one go paper.
What else?
You have to learn how to support someone that before was your enemy.
Okay, good. So definitely
The ability
teamwork.
to lose graciously.
Okay, good. Nothing wrong with having fun while you're doing your project too. So getting a little excitement, fun. This one, with a large group, it's even more fun because you're going to end up with like 20 people on each side yelling. Well, at least probably 15, I guess, in your classroom maybe. But
How about yelling could just make you confused and forget which one you're gonna. Everybody's yelling at you.
To focus.
So,
Focusing skills. Putting out distraction.
Not yelling.
want to shift to some of the group stuff. So we're going to talk about grouping strategies and group questions at this time. So as you saw from the students last week, so you saw and heard about some of our tools. I'm going to show you some of those. Contracts are really important. And we follow the contracts. So as some of the students shared last time, if they put something sneaky in there, we follow it. So the story that's always told is there's some kid who wrote a 5-page long contract and everyone just signed it, and they got to the end of the project and there was some extra credit bonus going, and he's like, great, I get them all. And his teammates were like, no, wait, that's not fair. Read the contract. Put in the contract, any extra credit goes all to me. And the teacher honored it because it's in the contract. So, yeah. So, moral of the story, students read the contract. So I like to tell that story the first time I do contracts. So, even though I don't even know if it's true, right? It's one of those stories that just gets passed along. But going over contracts, the first time you do contracts, spend a lot of time on them. Go over them, explain the contract, tell them some stories like that, and make a big deal about that. And we spend probably 15, 20 minutes to a half hour the first time we do a contract. Once we get into going through a few times in it, we spend 10 minutes on it. Pull up an old contract, copy and paste it, re-sign it. I don't care. Go through and edit it. Lawyers don't write everything, right? They copy and paste. So that's fine once you understand, because then we always have the conversation, the contract is worthless unless you enforce it. That's like any contract. So then we turn into those kind of conversations. So you don't need to spend a lot of time on it once you've established what it is and how to use it. Then it's more like, hey guys, we're doing contracts, let's talk about, did we use them last time? Instead of like how to do them. So, if you go to the PBL resources page, under the planning documents, I'm going to start with the third one down, group contract template form. It looks like this, and this is what we give them. And we don't make them follow this form. They can do whatever they want. This is just to help them first time. So, helpful suggestions. We use Google Apps, so every student has an email that they never check. Are you familiar with this student strategy? They never check their email, so what I always tell the students is, whatever you put in here, you are obligated to check it if you're absent, which is the big thing. So it can be Skype, it can be text, it can be whatever you want to put, but if you're absent, you're telling your teammate, I'm going to check this method. So I really don't care what you put in there. Just make sure, that's one of the things I always check and go over. Make sure that this isn't an email that you never check, because that's not helpful. Strengths, areas for growth, roles. We don't always use roles, so that's just kind of an optional thing on there. Sometimes I find them just to be not helpful, personally. But some teachers like to use them, that's kind of a personal preference. One nice thing for roles is you can pull people out. Going back to workshops, I want everyone who's this role to come to this workshop. So sometimes I'll do a workshop where every group needs to send one person, and then they go back and report to the group. So the rest of the group's working on stuff. So that's another way to do workshops by roles. We would like to see some goals and tasks in there. We give some general agreements, and they can always add to these. Absences for us, you learn your own issues with your students, your clientele. For us, with all our different districts, absences are a huge issue that we deal with. Like, we just had some kids that are leaving because they have half a day, so they have to leave. So they're going to miss my class today. They need to do their work from home. And that's what we deal with. So whatever issues you deal with, that's what you want to talk about and get added to the contract here. And then this part's pretty blank on here, but this is always the part that I'm checking the most, accountability. And we always require a minimum of 3 things. You got to give a warning. And second step, minimum, is teacher has to be involved at some point. And then the third thing is the firing. And if they're fired, they're off their team, they can't take any of their work with them, and they have to start over from scratch on their own. It's not fun. So, but we can't just say, oh, you're annoying me today, you're fired. So that's why we have the steps. And usually they want to fire someone, and my first question is, oh, have you given them a warning? Have you documented it? Okay. You've done that? Good. Well, you can't fire them because you haven't talked to us yet. So you're on step 2. And of course, we don't want to see kids fired. We're trying to help them get the skills. We work with the groups on those things. And at the bottom, they sign it. So a couple things. There's going to be a kid who says, oh, I'm not going to sign it. Okay, that's fine. I haven't signed the Constitution in this country, but I still have to follow all the laws here. So your group's doing this, whether you sign it or not, you're still going to be obligated to follow it because this is what they've decided. So that's kind of how you can use a real world example to say, I haven't signed up on all the laws, but if I break them, the police are still going to arrest me. So you're going to be obligated whether you sign it or not, and then you should sign it. You know, they're just trying to make a smoke screen. Question?
Well, I'm just curious if then if I was a student, I'd say, then what's the point of signing anyways? Why does anybody sign?
Well, the idea is the group's still making the rules. So if you're the one person out of the group, usually they're just trying to like
No, I know.
be a pain. But we want them to sign it, but we're not going to let them off the hook by refusing to sign it.
Right.
The bigger problem we have found usually is students don't want to fire each other. Like, they're friends. Conflict is not something they're good at. So we spend a lot of time teaching some of those skills, and sometimes it'll be like, oh, they'll come to me, Mr. Cackley, I'm having problems with so-and-so, have you given a warning? No, I don't want to do that. Okay, so come with me, I'll walk you over there, and I'll show you how to give a warning. So sometimes we have to do that, even though they're 9th or 10th grade. They don't, you know, social is everything in high school, so they don't want to ostracize themselves in that way. So with that, if we go to the next thing on here, it's a project management log. And this is just a real simple Google Doc, and we encourage them to use this or something like it to fill out the tasks. So who's going to do what, when's it going to be responsible, and what day. So they make a list of tasks. Those tend to come from here. Go through your needs and knows, your next steps. Sometimes we call these next steps. So put your next steps on here, your needs and knows on there. Who's going to do what? I'm going to, and they're going to be real generic. They're going to put, we're all going to research. No, that's not measurable. So what are you going to do? What are you going to accomplish? What are you actually going to get done on the day that you can be held accountable? I'm going to finish researching this, and I'm going to have it done tomorrow, whether I'm here or not. So this is what I really like to encourage students to do, because now you're having a problem with a student. Did they finish their task? No. Okay, so now I'm going to go up to them and say, Lauren, I'm sorry, but yesterday you said you were going to finish this, and you haven't, and I like you and everything, but I'm going to have to give you a warning, because you didn't finish what you did. Now you're stressing me out. So modeling that is huge, and then using this to say, it's not, you're a pain, I don't like you, all those things, you're stupid, you're lazy, language students sometimes go to, but teach them how to give warnings and such, redirection, without losing the friendship, because that's what they're worried about.
Who holds on to this document? Do you keep it or they keep it?
They keep it, they have it, we have them share it with us sometimes, but once we get into it, to be honest, we don't have the time to go look at all this stuff.
Right.
So, the first time I go through and I do the contracts, I might have to turn them in and go through them all. But then usually what I do is say, after we launch the project, and after we do our needs and knows and stuff, and they're in their groups, I'll say, okay, you guys need to do a group contract. When you're done, raise your hand. And I come around and I spot check them in class right now. So I'm not going to spend time on it at night looking at it later. I'm going to deal with it right now while you're in the room and give them feedback. Hey, where's this? You know, you guys have no accountability here. Do it. And then I just kind of do a little check off, make sure they're all done, and when they're done, they start the research. So that's just time management on my part, how I like to do it. I skipped over this, but the other link in here is an example of a group contract, and you can see they kind of took our form and made it their own. Some of the things on there. Automatic firing of group members. You can tell where the problem is here. If they're absent 3 or more days without communicating, that's a problem we have. So they're automatically going to fire them. And I'll support that because we know that's an issue. So those are some of the things, not doing their homework 3 times, daily activities.
So what if you start a group and you're not aware of what the problems will be? You redo a contract halfway through, or?
I haven't really had them do that, but I suppose if a group wanted to change their contract in the middle, I'd let them, if they all agree on it. But usually what happens is you want to have a reflection piece at the end of your projects, and that's a great time to reflect on some of this stuff. Hey guys, how are our groups in this project? what were some issues we had? Without naming names, let's just talk about general issues here. And then when you start your next project, and you're ready to do that group contract, you go back to it again and say, hey, remember the last project? What were some things you wished you were in your contract? What are some things you need to add? How can you do a better contract? How can you enforce your contract better this time? So you keep having all these discussions and teaching them as you go. Also, on the PBL resources, so we did the example, the student sentence stems for groups. I think this one's really helpful. So what we ended up doing our first year is, we start having some group issues and breaking down. So we got all the students together and we did a skit. And there were 4 teachers at the time. We sat at the table and we acted out, 3 of us acted out all the behaviors that they do all the time that are not helpful for PBL and group work. And they were laughing because they recognized it all. Like, they love to go talk to our secretary, for example. So one of us would be like, I'm going to talk to Mrs. Olson. They all just started laughing because they know that's what they do when they want to get out of work. So we went through and did all that. So do some role playing. Then we went back and broke them into groups. And we had all these things, but then we gave them the sentence stems. So here's ways to redirect your group member with, first of all, because then we do have a couple of Nazis that want to be like warning Nazis, like, you looked out the window, warning. Okay, that's not what we're trying to do here either. So teach them how to correctly talk politely and redirect. Because the truth is, too, you have some students, especially your special ed students, your IEP students, sometimes they're not working because they're lost. They don't know what to do. And then in their group is high-achieving A student who thinks this kid is lazy. Well, you can't say this student's special ed, you can't say that, but what you can do is say to show this student, this student you're working with probably needs a little direction on what to do. If you give them a task, they're going to really help you out. Frame it in a positive way and help them learn, because a lot of times a high-achieving student isn't very good at playing well with others. So that's the exact skill that they need to learn. So teaching them some of these ways to help each other, like you often, once you know your students, can predict where this is going to happen ahead of time. Pulling that student aside and say, hey, this person's a really hard worker, if you give them some direction and support on where to go. And try and head that off at the start. So we found these sentence stems to be really important and useful for helping build some of the group things. So working together groups is always, it's not natural, it's not easy. Kids don't automatically do it, neither do adults. I think we know this. So you have to teach these skills, but they're valuable skills. Some ways of making groups, we really don't, there's not a magic formula. Sometimes we do mixed ability, sometimes we do similar ability, sometimes we do random, sometimes we're really feeling generous, we let them pick their own groups. Usually that ends up in disaster. To be honest, picking your own groups is going to end up sorted by ability, pretty much. So sometimes we do. It depends on what it is and how long it is and if we think they can handle it. And sometimes we let them pick their own groups just to show they can't, so next time we say, oh, I'm sorry, we let you choose, and it just didn't go well, did it, guys? So, no magic thing there. Some ways, other things, just some methods to pick groups for fun. Playing cards, get a pack of cards as they come in, like get rid of them so you only have enough playing cards for a number of students-ish, and give them all a card, and you got to get together, all the 4s get together, all the 2s, all the kings get together to make groups of 4. It's just one random fun way to do it. We do the clock. I can show you the clock one if you're not familiar with this. It's a little bit, maybe elementary school, but it can still work. You give them say a paper plate, have them write a clock on there, and then they write a person's name by all of them. And then you can randomly do groups and say, hey, today I want you to work with, I want you to make groups by 1s and 8s. Find your 1s and 8s persons. And so it mixes it up so they're not always with the same people, and they got to pick people on their clock. And here's the secret teacher part of it though. We did 1s and 8s today. Whoa, that was a bad combination. We are never doing that one again. Right? They don't know that. So you're randomly picking ones, but you know that, whoa, ones, we're never gonna do ones again. So it gives you a little bit of that if you have some groups that are really challenging.
Can I,
Yeah,
can we talk about that real quick?
yes.
I've got a plan for how I was thinking of doing groups. I don't know if it's gonna be good or not. Split them up by 4 different skills, and they self-assessed. So leadership, which is all about motivation and organization, and then technology expert, and then relationship skills, and then English, like communication skills. And then they self-assessed, went in corners, and then kind of let them choose from there. You had to have one technology person, one leader, one. Is
Yeah, I
that
think that's a great way to do it.
enough structure of choice, or not really, to save chaos?
I think so. What I found is every single project, I have some great groups and some poor groups. And it's just this. So I don't overstress it. I think trying to find things like that are great. When we did our political parties one, where they had to create their own parties, we did this online assessment that told them if they were more Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, or Green. And then we had them all go to the 4 corners of the room, and we said make groups out of those. So, because we didn't want people making a party that didn't believe the same beliefs, that didn't make sense to us. So they got to pick their groups, but it had to be someone who believed like them. So they got some choice, but yet we got them together by political beliefs, which made sense for that project. We just did the Choose Your Own Adventure project, and this is, I would not recommend doing this early on in your PBL experience unless your kids know what they're doing. The whole class is one big group, and it's chaos at times, and sometimes it looks like they're not doing anything, but most of the time they are. And so there was directors, there was editors, but they picked all their own roles. And some of the kids worked harder than others, as always. But for the most part, most of the kids were working most of the time and doing some pretty cool stuff. So, and they love the choice. So I do like to give them choice as much as possible, but one of the compromises, because this is one that they fight us with a lot, we want to pick our own groups. So sometimes what we do is we say, you get to pick one partner here, we're going to do groups of 4, you pick your partner, and we'll put the partners together. So now they get some choice. There was someone they like, and then there was some other people that they may or may not be their favorites. So, you know, we try to be flexible and compromise and things like that. And sometimes I made a grade base, like, oh, if you are above this level, you can pick your group. If you're not, I'm picking it because it's not working for you. So, make it based on what they've shown. So, no magic sauce for groups. It's always a growing experience, and every group is different. Every class of kids are individuals. So, any other questions on groups?
How about tying it with, like, I got a couple classes of fairly severe special ed, high numbers. I know you guys don't have special ed here, but.
Well, we do.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry. So how does that work?
We, you know, just like every kid, we try to find them a good connection. So sometimes, in special ed kids are just like every other kid, they're not all the same. If I have a special ed kid who's really low ability but a hard worker, I usually don't have any problems grouping that kid. Because I put them with a stronger student that'll help them a little bit, but they'll work. If they're a kid who's not so motivated, you know, then just like any kid that's not motivated, it's a little bit of a challenge. You try to find a group where they at least can get along and hopefully contribute. But if the kid has issues with getting along with others, working in school, we're still going to have to work on teaching those skills. PBL is going to help because it's going to give them some choice, it's going to give them some motivation, but it's still got to teach them those skills. They're not just going to happen. This seems like a good time to do an informal tour. So I'm going to give you a question, and we're going to do a quick walkthrough of our school. But I want you to think about this top bullet point on here. How does the physical space here at our school promote the culture and learning of PBL? And of course, we want you to take the concepts back to your own school. So don't just look at the shiny. but look at the design and think about your own classroom. What kind of physical space and design here and how it's being used in our space, can you take the concepts back to your school no matter what your classroom or school looks like? Does that make sense?